Good morning, Karen from Quantum Heart Awakening. Welcome in, welcome in. Today we're going to do a Divine Masculine check-in. Let's go nice and easy today. Let's take it nice and slow today. I think everyone's been through the ringer. There's been a ton moving in the collective. A lot of the depths have been rising, which has been incredibly confrontational. So let's just take it easy, masculines. Let's see where we go. All right. Spirit, thank you for being with us. What do we need to know for the Divine Masculine Collective? What are we confronting? What is showing up on our block? What is showing up on our path? What are the blocks showing up? What are the solutions to those blocks? Anything else? Thank you. Anything else? Anything else? Thank you. All right, let's just start with this. We have what would help me feel safe in opening up. We have what energizes me. We have what kind of release would protect clarity in my space. Anything else, Spirit? Anything else? Thank you. Do I accept myself without judgment? Oof. Okay, and then we have an illumination card here. In the unconscious position, oh my God, I can't form sentences. Forgive me. How am I the light in darkness? How am I the light in darkness? Okay, let's drop in. The first card, what would help me feel safe in opening up? Something the masculines have been confronting for an incredibly long time is feeling safe in their wholeness. In the wholeness, which includes their inner feminine, their inner emotional reality, their ability to express what is happening in their interior castle. Masculines, you're being called to dabble in this flow, to dabble in this openness. What would help you feel safe in opening up? You know, I think all of us, the nature of Earth School is that we all have something to overcome from our childhoods or from our young adolescence. And so it's really difficult to break those patterns, right? It took us, 10, 20, 40 years to get into that pattern. It might take a little bit of tender, loving care to get out of it. And so masculines, if you were to just dabble in entertaining this idea that you would be safe if you opened up, what would support you in that? What is a requirement? If you could think of a time in your life where you felt the safest you've ever felt, what was happening around you? What type of people were you around? How were those people treating you? Just to spitball a little bit, maybe you would feel safe opening up if there was a very accepting environment. Maybe you would feel more comfortable if you could do that with a certain kind of person. Maybe sometimes it's easier to open up to strangers than it is to people that are actually in our lives. And why is that? I think because we don't feel like there's any investment. You might never see this person again, and it's much easier to spill your guts when you don't have to look in the mirror at your old self, right? That's the very interesting thing about people that have been in our lives forever or for a very long time, is that they hold a very specific version of us. And that could be incredibly beautiful, and or it could also be incredibly limiting, right? Depending what version of self they're holding on to. Like, just to give you an example, masculines, I feel safe opening up to people that are infinitely curious. That I feel safe opening up around people that do not have a ceiling on the world. I do not feel safe when people are very rigid in their beliefs, when they're not open to interpretation, or, I approach life kind of from a very philosophical feeling perspective, and I very intimately hold the belief that I will never know all there is to know. I know very little of a percentage of what there is, what can be known. And so I feel freedom when I'm around people exploring ideas and beliefs and different solutions, and having a very open, caring, empathic, compassionate view on problem solving, or being curious about, existential questions, why we are the way we are, without judgment or ridicule or very rigid structures. Yeah, I've had many friends and people who have crossed my path who have their strong beliefs, and this is what they believe and nothing else can be true, and it's just exhausting for me to be around. I don't judge how they are, but it's, for me as someone who likes to explore life, it's very limiting. It puts a cap on what's possible for me personally, and also me and that friendship. I already am clocking that, okay, if this person is this rigid in their beliefs, we can only go so far. Like, we can't become something else. We can't go the limits. And I really like to push myself to surrender to the mystery, right? Because we're never going to know all there is to know. And even, we don't even have what's knowable is so vast. I feel like our little beautiful human brains can't even fathom the longitude and latitude of knowledge and wisdom, right? This is like something that's been debated throughout millennia. And we're just doing the best we can in the present moment. And so, masculines, I'm going to challenge you. This is a wonderful journal prompt. What would help you feel safe opening up? Next question, what would energize you, masculines? I'm going to invite you to start tracking throughout your life what gives you energy and what takes your energy away. This is people, places, locations, your environments you enter, and also things. Sometimes actual physical things can drain our energy. I mean, it could be as obvious as, like, you live near a cellular tower and you have trouble concentrating. It could be that obvious. Or it could be more subtle, where maybe there was a lot of, whatever land you're living on, maybe there was a lot of pain and suffering on that land. And although that's not clear and obvious and apparent on a 3D level, energetically, the land holds that density. And so maybe you're sort of responding to that energetic blueprint. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to what this could be for you, but this is a practice in consent and boundaries. We cannot know what we are consenting to until we start paying attention to how things make us feel. And this is sort of feeds directly off of, do I feel safe opening up? Does this environment make me feel safe? When I walk into work, does it give me energy or drain me energy? When that coworker visits my desk and has a conversation with me, do I feel better or worse after that conversation? When I go for a walk at this certain place, do I feel better or worse? Start tracking where your energy, where you're allowing it to go, right? We don't think about kind of stepping into sovereignty with day-to-day life, but say that coworker comes by your desk and they do nothing but complain. Consciously or unconsciously, you are accepting that experience and consenting to it. And now something you could do is, once you become aware of it, now you recognize, oh, wait a second, I don't want this to happen. So I have to take action. I have a choice. I have agency. If someone comes up to you and starts complaining, you can say to them, you know what? I noticed that you are going through a difficult time, and you could just say, I'm at a place where I cannot hold that right now. I'm not able to discuss this with you. Could you find someone else? Or, you're allowed to draw a boundary. And that was kind of a terrible example, but there's much more graceful ways to shift that conversation. I mean, if I'm being honest, in my real life, I have not been very graceful when it comes to my own energy. Because here's the thing. I'm a lifelong empath and highly sensitive person. Someone once told me this quote and it just stuck with me. It says, givers need to set boundaries because takers never will. If someone has a very vampiric energy, sorry, my brain's trying to form sentences while also deciphering images. If someone has a vampire energy or a black hole energy where they just suck and suck and suck more and take more of your time and more of your energy and resources and all the things, they're never going to set a boundary because they are benefiting off of your lack of boundaries, masculines. This is like boundaries 101. We have to honor, first of all, ourselves. We have to become self-aware over how the world makes us feel, how people, places, and things, how we respond. It's sort of, I'm going to be dramatic here. It is life and death. And what do I mean by that? Because when you cross your own boundaries over and over and over again, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, a lifetime of boundary crossing, you will drain your energy. It will first affect you on a creative level. You will lose creativity and inspiration. It'll then affect your relationships. And finally, the most importantly, it will affect you on a cellular level. This isn't my knowledge. This comes from Energy Anatomy by like Carolyn Mace's approach to energy anatomy. And she looks at the chakra system. She calls them little mini computers, and every computer is responsible for processing different information. And when we can become micro aware of where our energy is going, right? Because even though there's an infinite amount of energy in the universe, the amount of energy that will ever be already exists, right? Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It just can change forms and take on different functions. And it's up to us to start paying attention to, okay, where is my energy? And am I in control of it, or am I allowing someone to take it or change it or morph it? Did I consent to that? It's one thing if you consent to it, cool. Like if your sibling is having a really difficult time, or your best friend, and you're kind of low, but you know what? You love them and you really want to show up for them. So you are consenting to that person sort of, sharing all of their stuff with you. That's, if you're conscious of it and you are wielding your free will and sovereignty, cool. You know what you're walking into. But like the coworker analogy or example, you're probably not consenting to that, especially if it's something that happens all the time. It's a mirror showing you where you need to set more boundaries for yourself. There was a whole big thing I was going to talk about, another piece of this, and it escapes me right now. Interesting. I didn't even look ahead, but we have this clearing card. What kind of release would protect clarity in my space? And so part of that could be an emotional release, because here's the thing. Let me tell you from personal experience, after years and years of crossing my own boundaries, I have some feelings about it, right? When you first have that initial awakening, when you all of a sudden, it's like somebody pulled back the curtain, masculines, and you could see the dance. You could see, okay, I let this coworker come to my desk every morning and vomit all of their pain and trauma all over me in the morning. And then for the rest of the day, I feel like crap. When you recognize that you are allowing that to happen, you're probably going to have some frustrating, angry, dense feelings about it. Step one is allowing yourself to vibrate all of that anger and frustration, grief, sorrow, for wasted time, whatever comes up for you. That's step one. Allow yourself to vibrate whatever emotions are showing up in the present moment. Because if you don't, you will carry them into your future, and you will then be allowing your past to rob your present moment. So that's step one. The other type of release is also around what would you like to get rid of in your life? What would you like to let go of that will help protect your clarity? Another word for clarity for me is, intuition, discernment. What could I release in my life that would help me stay in union with my intuition? When we are not connected to our intuition, when we do not have enough self-esteem to believe our intuition, we cut ourselves off from our discernment. We are nothing without our discernment. If we are not steering our own ship, someone or something else is steering it for us. So it's really important, masculines, that you recognize that you are a sovereign being, that you have control, that you have a steering wheel of your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, your life. And if you are not at that steering wheel, then something or someone else is, and it will guide you. It will shove you around. It will push you here, blow you there. You'll wind up in situations that you are not consenting to. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. I laugh. I read this card, breathe, and I'm like, yes, I do need to breathe. Thank you. It says, do I accept myself without judgment? Masculines, do you accept yourself without judgment? Now, the confronting version of this question, especially if you're having all this sacred awareness rise over what you are consenting to unconsciously, yeah, you might judge yourself. You might be like, oh my God, why am I like this? Why did I let this happen? How did I end up at that job? How did I end up with this partner who's abusive? Or to this friend who always takes but never gives? Like, it could be anything. Or how did I end up being the parent when my parent was supposed to be the parent? Right? These things can come from anywhere. So that's why I want you to focus less on looking for an actual narrative or story that's playing out in your life, and just start paying attention to your energy. Remember, your energy is your barometer for your health and wellness. When you feel good, you feel at a surplus of energy, you have lots of ideas and creativity, and you can move through the world in general ease. You see a problem, you don't feel panicked or stressed. You just are like, okay, what is the solution to this? What can we come up with to help take the next step forward? I totally lost my train of thought. Hold on. So first step after you start paying attention to where energy is coming in and where energy is draining, leaving, where are you getting energy and where are you leaking energy, right? Anywhere we are leaking energy, we want to start plugging up those holes. So can you accept yourself without judgment with whatever you discover, whatever data you discover? And it could be difficult. It could be difficult because what are we doing? We are looking at our life as a mirror. And what is being reflected back to us is our actions and our own accountability. It'll show us where we are taking accountability, and it'll absolutely show us where we need to take accountability. So can you accept yourself and your choices and your past without judgment and just say, I was operating from the consciousness that I was, and I now see differently, and now I get to love that part of myself, help them make new choices, and free up my energy so that I can be fully present with the situation around me. What is this chapter of your life? It's an illumination. Something in your life, this chapter of your life, is illuminating your actions, your non-actions, your words, your desires, your fears, your boundaries or lack thereof. Okay, masculines? Beautiful. I don't want to go too much deeper because this by itself is a pretty big message. Oh, okay, thank you. I was just about to get another deck and they're like, nope. Okay, I'm just going to hold this here. this radiate card. How am I the light in darkness? And this was in the unconscious position, meaning this is what is just outside of your awareness, or this is what you are pushing into the shadows that you don't want to look at. So maybe masculines, something you're pushing into the shadows and you don't want to take responsibility for is that you are actually your own savior, that you are the light in darkness. Some of us, including myself, have had experiences in a childhood where I felt very much in the victim. I felt like an innocent victim of circumstance a few times. And because of that, I think I was unconsciously waiting to be rescued. I was like, I came from a really big family, and I was the youngest, and as the youngest, it's a very interesting position, right? Because you're the grand spectator. You're silently witnessing the ecosystem of your family, of this secret world of adults. And I think because I was in that sort of solitary inner dark world for so many years, I just got used to being in that position in the world. And so I think unconsciously through the years, I waited for someone to rescue me, because either someone would or someone would not. But that was my job, was waiting. I was used to waiting. So I think I developed this unconscious belief that like I couldn't be the one to rescue myself. And so then I didn't, right? I would just be waiting. And that's something I have to confront every day. And I have to dialogue with those parts of self that don't believe that I can be the light in my own darkness. And so masculines, some of you don't believe you have what it takes to actually navigate through whatever adversity you're going through. Let's just honor that that's a really dense, difficult feeling. And let me say this, that you don't have to conquer this idea alone. Like, even though it's about, eventually you will learn that you actually are your own light in darkness, that you can illuminate anything in your life, that you get to, be the hero of your own journey. But the pathway to that awareness, you don't have to take alone. You actually get to ask for all of the help and support that you need, whether it's through friends, family. It's probably not through family. Let me just say that as a little disclaimer. It's very hard to ask our family for help from healing from something that they were a part of, so I'm just going to leave that there. Take it with a grain of salt. But you can ask help from a therapist or from a coach or a counselor or, a spiritual leader in your community. There's so many other avenues where you can almost get like, how do I say this? Surrogate sovereignty. When you don't have access to your full power, your full sovereignty, you can actually, borrow some power from someone else. Granted, take that also with a grain of salt, because I've seen a lot of people who put a lot of their eggs in someone else's basket. They put a lot of, especially if you're actively suffering right now, or you're looking towards a guru or a healer. I've seen this happen so many times where people give their power away. I've done it, and not too big of capacities, but I've absolutely given my power away because I thought something was going to solve me. Something outside of myself was going to rescue me, solve me, give me a solution, fix me. And by doing that, I actually crossed my boundaries a few times, and then I created a little bit more trauma for myself. But that was my path. Right? The world had to mirror back to me where I was continually giving away my power. And then I had to do the inner work to, be like, okay, whoa, I have to take accountability the whole entire way through. I can't, say I'm taking accountability and then go give my power away to, a belief system or a thought pattern or an idea. I really don't want to talk about this, but what's coming through is cults, and the massive, that's like a really extreme version of when mass brainwashing starts to happen. And we start acting, it's like somebody gave us a false map of how we're supposed to live, or what narrative or beliefs we're supposed to have. And because of our wounding, we are more susceptible to that influence. And some sooner or later we wake up and we're living a life that we didn't even know. We don't even know how we got here, and we're living this life and doing these things. And it's really interesting. I know like cults are a pretty big emotional thing for people, or it's like people have a strong like pop culture response to it. But if you look at the cult experience like an archetypal journey, just like a mythology, if you look at it like a story from a storybook, you start to realize that it's very easy for us to be brainwashed in this society. And now that we're so linked through the internet, back in the day, pre-internet, you had a few firewalls between, your family, your community, your state, your culture, and now there's like this internet culture, right? I was watching something in Scandinavia. I don't know. I think it might have been in Finland. And these teenagers were acting the exact same way as American teenagers were acting. And I was shocked to see that the similarities. I'm like, oh, right. That's because of the internet, and everybody's watching the same influencers and the same things. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But it's just really fascinating to start looking at that cult archetype. Like, okay, where else are we being brainwashed? For instance, in the heyday of advertising, when there was like very little and autonomy and power and conscientiousness, like I'm thinking about in like the 40s and 50s, when the advertisements were so messed up. Like if you've ever read about, like ever Googled these old vintage advertisements where they were so demeaning and derogatory towards people, different groups, women, whoever it is. And you look at it now and you're like, I cannot believe this existed. Like I cannot even believe there was a culture in place where this was safe to say this. It's just so demeaning. And you're like, okay, right. We think it's crazy now because we're awake to it, right? And so what freaks me out, and what I spend a lot of time thinking about, is, okay, where am I giving my power away to something, right? This is the whole point of this reading masculine. So like, do we give our power away to success? Right. I remember when I was younger, like making $1 million was like a huge deal. It sounded like so much money. And now making $1 million is like nothing. And that's very sad, right? That's a very sad thing, because for anyone who actually gets close to that, or forget that example, but any example like that was just a pop culture kind of thing. It takes a lot of like intense hard work to accomplish anything. And so for us to just measure our success and self-worth off of like, okay, do I have $1 million in the bank or not? And if I don't, it means I'm unworthy, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I am not enough, I'll never be enough, I can't stop working, there's no time to rest until I meet this goal. Well, I've had really unconscious, unhealthy goals like that in my life. And I've actually had really healthy goals. I wanted to buy a house before I was 30, and I think I did it at 28. And I worked so hard. I worked for like a decade to save and to work and buy this house. And then when I finally bought the house, got the house, living in the house, I actually also renovated it for about 1.5 years, 2 years. When I finally got there, it fell flat. I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. I should feel really happy, and I feel really empty. Like, what's happening? And what was happening is that I made that goal because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And I thought that that would bring me a lot of confidence and success. And after doing all that hard work and all those things, I just felt like, oh, okay, what's the next goal? And I wanted to chase a different goal and a different goal and a different goal because maybe I would feel enough if I accomplished these things, right? That's the narrative that's unconsciously running. That's the unconscious programming that's running behind the scenes, that's driving all of this need to fill this like bottomless pit. Sorry, this all seems really intense and dramatic, but it doesn't have to be masculines. So let's bring it back full circle. Your only homework is to start paying attention to where, it's really, sorry, I just accidentally killed a little gnat in my hand. That was very weird. Thank you, Spirit. You know what that was about, masculines? That example. Thank you so much. Oh God, that's really funny. I killed something. I accomplished something totally by accident. And that's a really important message for you masculines, that you don't have to approach this healing journey the same way you approach your goals and your mission and your success. In fact, you are being called to actually stay on your throne, to sit back and just stay anchored in the role as the divine witness. You are now a spectator of yourself, of your life. You are now the eye behind the eye, watching what you do, watching, being curious about the decisions you make. Oh, why did I make that decision? Oh, why am I attracted to that person or that job? Or why did my coworker trigger me? And why did my partner trigger me? Or why did I get so mad when my child did that? My reaction didn't seem to fit the crime. You could start just being curious about yourself. And this is a time of illumination. It's not a time of action. It is not a time of fixing and editing yourself. This is just a time of gathering information, okay? All right, do we want to keep going? Nope, we're going to end it soon. I'm just going to grab a Into the Wilderness card. Thank you, Spirit. We have caution. It says, tread softly so as not to disturb the woodland floor. This is really beautiful because it's really important that as we start to do this really sacred work of uncovering ourselves, of stepping into this illumination, this awakening process, this enlightenment process, that we honor that whatever our past was, whatever happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, the successful, the joy, the laughter, the pain, the tears, whatever happened in our childhoods, that it is sacred, to treat it with reverence and respect, and to walk with what I like to call temple feet. When you walk into a holy place demands reverence. I'm sure most of you have had that experience where even if you're not a part of that religion or tradition, you can feel the energy in a space when something really sacred is going on. And what happens to your whole demeanor when you feel that? Okay, you might lower your voice. You might not walk as loudly. You might maybe keep your hands very close to yourself as to respect the environment and the people around you. What comes to mind is when tourists go to other cultures, countries, and visit like a cathedral or a temple or a mosque or a church of some sort, and you can feel the reverence in the space. And so masculines, you are being called to treat your past as if you are walking into a temple. Maybe it's take your shoes off, walk lightly, walk deliberately and intentionally. Be in control of every step you take as to not disturb all of that sacredness. This is really important to keep in mind as you dive into yourself. and allow the emotions to come, but try not to shame yourself or your past. Try not to criticize what has happened, because that actually just robs you of your sacred energy in the present moment. Instead, get curious about your past. Instead of judging it, instead of, criticizing it, really try to use your energy to tread lightly. Okay? Beautiful reading, masculines. This was a lot. Please take care of your body. Let me just grab I'm just not even going to shuffle. I'm just going to pull a random self-care card for you. We have watch a movie here. Yeah, sometimes just doing nothing and resting is enough to integrate. I always think about if you are really an overachieving person or a high achieving person, resting and doing something as simple as watching a movie or your favorite show might seem frivolous, or you might even have a story that it is careless to rest when you have all these problems or these things you want to fix. It's really important that you carve out downtime in your life as this illumination is taking place. Because here's the thing, you do not have to go running after awareness. Your job, what did I say earlier, is to keep your seat on your throne, to stay seated. Stand if you must, but do not move from your throne. Anything else about that, Spirit? Okay, thank you. I didn't finish the thought. Stay seated in your throne, because so much will come to you. You do not have to chase after awareness. You do not have to, do all these programs and start a therapy thing or a coaching you don't have to take another class or get another certification. Just stand still and the awareness will show up. Ask questions. Ask Spirit or the universe to answer some of your questions, and ask them intentionally and consciously. And just be curious, experiment, ask a question and see if an awareness arises. Now, just a disclaimer on that, you are not in control of when or how that awareness arises. So if it doesn't arrive, if you ask a question and it doesn't arrive in 3 minutes, don't give up and be pissed. Be patient, surrender, watch a movie, go for a walk, cook yourself a delicious meal, have a wonderful warm beverage. Just surrender. You're being asked to take care of yourself in this surrendered energy as you place your life on the altar and empty the vessel so that a new awareness can arise. Beautiful. Okay, masculines, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions, comments, or need support, please reach out. All my information is in the description. And I hope this was supportive, and I will see you in the next one.